Hello, welcome back to Survivor LU Afterparty. After a 2-week break, I am here with the 8th eliminated player, Austin Marshall. How are you, Austin?
I'm good.
So let's get right into it. So you played a long time ago, so we're going to try to get back to where you were all those years ago. But walk me through your initial reaction to walking onto the field and seeing all those people standing there ready to play this game, because you didn't really come in as much of a huge Survivor fan.
Yeah.
So walk me through your perspective on that, like seeing that sea of people.
So I was pretty excited because like the whole point for me was like making friends. So I came out and there was like tons of them. Actually, no, I was pretty early there, so there wasn't a lot of us. And I was just like all excited to meet people. I wasn't really thinking game or strategy, but then people started talking like, "So how many seasons have you seen?" And then it kind of hit like this might be more than I thought I was getting into. And they were like talking about seasons and like episodes within those seasons and names, and I was just I got a little bit lost pretty quick. And then I don't remember when it was like with Delaney, like when she showed up, and I was like, bet, like we know each other. But then she was like, "Hi, I'm Delaney," and I was like, "Okay, so I don't know you." It was just a lot, like not what I really was expecting coming in. I thought it'd be a lot more like, "Hey, what's up? Like we're doing this. No one knows what's going on, but we're gonna have fun." But like everyone else seemed to know what was going on off the bat. And then like the game, like whatever, but like everyone's like strategizing within it, and like we're gonna roll a dice, and like who's your leader? And I was like, I thought we were just playing games and voting each other off. Like I thought it was just whatever. But yeah, it was an interesting thing to come into for me. But it was a lot of excitement. Yeah.
So then what drew you to it initially? Like what got you to apply besides the idea of making friends? Because there's not a lot of people that do College Survivor. It's like 20, 18 people at a time. So did someone find you and recruit you? Did Delaney kind of get you into it? Did you know that she was going to do it?
So Dawson did it. I think the first season. Yeah, and he was just talking to Delaney about it. And I think I was with them when the conversation was going on, and he was like, "You should apply," and I was like, "That seems weird. I don't want to do that." He's like, "No, it's really cool. Like you meet a lot of people." And Delaney was like, "You do it, I'll do it. Like we can both do it." And I was like, "Okay, cool. I guess I'll apply." But like I didn't think I'd get an interview to start off, and then I didn't think that I would get it. Like in my head, it was a lot bigger of a deal than like what it was. Like I was like, oh, like they've been doing it for a while probably, and like they have it all figured out, and like I'm gonna come in like I don't know what I'm doing, and they're gonna be like, no, like okay, cool, thanks for trying, just kind of throw it away. So like even getting an interview, I was like, what the heck is this? And then the questions in the interview, I was like, I don't know, like it was like, what's your what was it? Somebody asked like, fun fact about you, and I was like, I have a blind roommate. Like I couldn't think of anything. um and like I was convinced, I was like, there's no way I'm getting that. Like they know I have no idea what I'm doing. So it was just Dawson like kind of joking about it. And then I mean I'll try anything, so I was like, I'll apply. But yeah, not really expecting to get in.
Well, that's what I thought was so funny, is that Andrew just kept saying that you knew everything going on and you were just playing dumb. It's like, no, you actually just had no idea what was happening.
No idea.
What point in the game was that turning point where you kind of realized, okay, here's how it's done and here's how I need to play? Because you made it far. You made it to the merge. You had some moves under your belt. You worked with Victoria. You worked with Ethan to get some like pretty big players out. And the biggest one was CK. And you seem to just have like, yeah, this is the game I'm playing. I'm going to vote CK out. I'm going to vote people out that I've been playing with for a month now. Like, what kind of switched in your brain that this was the way the game's played?
So honestly, it's not that complicated. I kind of got the gist of it after it's probably the second time they were like voting people out, and then like once Ethan came to me and was like, "We got to throw and get John out." I kind of at that point understood what was going on and like how the game worked. I still that might have been when I couldn't remember what an idol was called or something. Like I still didn't know like the technicalities and stuff. But like the way the game worked was very basic and kind of easy to understand after like 2 weeks. But I kind of just kept my mindset of I'm going to stick with the people that I know, and I didn't really try to understand a ton more than that. Um, so yeah, I mean, it made sense to me. I kind of knew what was going on, but I wasn't really trying to make massive moves and get super complicated into it. Because to me, it was very, your friends are here, stick with your friends. If your friends get out, just put your hands up and wait for your time to go.
So did anything surprise you when you finally watched the episode come out, like from what other people were saying? Like, did anything really shock you, or did you kind of know what was going on the entire time because you were with power players like Delaney, Ethan, CK? You were with the big guys.
One thing that was a little bit surprising was that like my name had been thrown out before that week. Because I mean I was with Delaney, CK, and Ethan, but like in all honesty, like you can see from the videos, they met up a ton, and I was there like one out of like six times. Like, and like realizing how much more Ethan and Delaney were talking than I was there. Because I mean we hung out a lot, like outside of the game, we were doing stuff, we were friends, and like I kind of thought like they're not thinking that much into it, but they played a lot, and I didn't realize that. I also didn't realize that Delaney or Ethan were like that big of players. I thought that like I knew Ethan had some pull, but I didn't realize Delaney did, because I was just I was just with my friends. So
Right.
I really did get lucky with that, where like I didn't have to understand a ton because
Mhm.
they understood it all. But like realizing, because like, I remember being upset at Delaney for not telling me about that idol, that last vote. And like I kind of knew at that point, like I don't know what's going on here. Like no one's really filling me in.
Yeah.
Um, but like I knew the basics. It's just like all the intricacies and like how people knew each other. Like I didn't bother with any of that.
Mhm.
How much thought went into stuff. Like I was just like, oh, I don't like J High. Let's vote J High. Or like, oh, CK is being mean. Let's vote out CK. Like I didn't realize that people were
Yeah.
doing it with a lot more intention and like strategy, because I was kind of just like, I want my friends here. I want people I can have fun with. So yeah.
So we saw an interesting arc from you in episode 5, where that's the Andrew episode,
Mm-hmm.
where you're now like it's you who has to lead the vote. Delaney's not there, Ethan's not there, so it's kind of you. You've been sticking with these two the entire time, and a little bit of CK, but now it's you. You have to make this call, and you're kind of pushing to get Chad out, and you have a lot of interesting points. Like, I know this person's going to be loyal to me. I know Lily is potentially not lying, and she's going to stick with me. So I thought it was really interesting how like your brain kind of switched to like strategy mode. Like, I'm not going to coast along with Delaney and Ethan. I'm going to lead this vote. Ultimately, it was Andrew that got voted out. You didn't get your ultimate way, but kind of what I've asked before, a little bit deeper into that. What made the shift so apparent to you that this is how, like, I need to bring Lillian because of this? Like, did that just like, is it because of the basics of the game that just sort of clicked? Like, this is how I got to play it. I got to play dirty. I got to play with all these different numbers.
Yeah. So like going into that, I mean it was the first time that I didn't have anyone kind of telling me what to do. I mean because like I had input on like what we talked about, like voting off John. Like I had a say in it, and like I voted for John because I wanted to vote for John. And I told them that like I'm voting for John. You guys can split the vote, but I'm voting for John. But like going into that and realizing like, okay, I could go home this week just because like no one's really here to protect me. Like I've got to start making moves. And it would have been like a really crappy week to go home because like I didn't meet with anyone besides like those people, and I was only really friends with Victoria and kind of Andrew at the time. So I was like, all right, basics, vote out the person that you're least close with and that you can't really use.
Yeah.
So to me, that kind of went to Chad, even though I like Chad a lot. I text him a lot more now than I did throughout the game. We're kind of homies, but like at the time, I was like, Lily could. I think the girls like Lily. Lily can flip. Lily could be helpful because I thought she was at the bottom of
Yeah.
whatever her tribe was named. Like I was like, Lily is in a good spot to help us out. Chad, Chad's with me, but Chad also, I knew Chad like J High, and I never really was on board with J High, like ever. So I was kind of always thinking like we're gonna get J High out pretty quick, like pretty soon. Like next vote's J High. Next vote, every week was that in my head. So I was kind of just thinking I can get him out. He won't help out J High, and then it's Andrew. I can control Andrew. Andrew's a homie. Andrew will listen to me because I knew everyone else like lie to Andrew and like try to confuse him. And I was like, if I'm just genuine with him, I think he knows that I'm being genuine, and we can like
Right.
I thought he would stick with me. Um, so I thought during that time coming in, like just pick the person you're least close with, and then I didn't really even know I led that as much as I did till I went back and watched it, because I remember it being a lot of like we all were communicating, like me and Victoria, and was Sophie in there?
Yeah.
Maybe, yeah. Me and Victoria were talking a lot, but like I didn't realize that like we were the ones pulling. I didn't realize how much was involved in that. I thought it was just like me meeting up with people and being like, so how do we want to do this versus me making like calls? Because I thought it was a very democratic. We went through the options as a group and then like chose, but Yeah.
So we go past it a little bit. We get to the merge. We see the big episode. CK's gone. You were a big part of that. We get to the next episode. You guys have the numbers. Chadwick is perceived to be with you. And then all of a sudden they flip it to you. You're done. And what wasn't shown, and I can say this now, is that you actually did know they were going to vote for you. You had a feeling. And I don't know if you remember this as much because I talk about this with other people sometimes where you actually suspected that they would vote for you because of process of elimination and they didn't listen. And I couldn't find that footage anywhere, so I couldn't put it in. But what tipped you off, if you remember enough, what tipped you off that they'd be writing your name down and you were trying to tell Victoria to play the idol on you?
Yeah. So we kind of knew after the last vote when Lily voted with them that like Lily wasn't with us. Um, so I was like, all right, Lily's not with us, but we met with Lily for some reason. She was like in our big group. And I was like, I don't know why Lily's with us. Like we know she's not voting with us. But the girls asked like, hey, should we play the idol on Delaney or Victoria? And she's like, oh, it doesn't matter. Like either one, I think we'll be fine. And I was like, if she said it doesn't matter, then neither one of them are going home. Like plain and simple. Like if I'm like, hey, is it like if I'm telling you and you're on the other team, should I play it on me or my friend? And you say it doesn't matter, it means that it's not one of us. And I thought that was a pretty basic understanding of how the game worked. And then like Ethan had an idol and Sophie, I mean, I never really understood what was going on with Sophie. Sophie just always seemed to be safe and like know what she was doing. So I was like, okay.
Ethan had immunity.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah, my bad.
I was like, what do we miss?
Words mess me up. Yeah, Ethan had the immunity thingy.
Still to this day, you don't know what an idol is.
I really don't. But like, I was like, okay, so the smart option would be, I mean, because we always talked about like voting out the lowest person because then they don't have the numbers anymore. Like when we always went, I always voted big players now that I think about it, but like that easy week voting on Andrew, it was like vote on Andrew because it's easy and like no one's gonna fight you on it. So I was like, okay, so if they barely have the numbers, because I mean, we didn't know about Chadwick, we hadn't talked to him in a month. Like got COVID, I was like, all right, I don't care, like we're done. And then I was like, okay, we're still in this. Hey Chad, how are you doing? You're cool. Like I didn't think much on it, but I was like, if we don't really know for sure, and like they don't know for sure, wouldn't they vote for the person that they know we wouldn't use an idol on, which would be me? And Ethan was like, no dude, you're safe, like no one's even worried about you. And I was like, that's kind of my point, but whatever. And then like right before we started, I called Victoria and Delaney and was like, yo, like I don't think I even filmed this one, but I was like, yo, like it's probably me. Like we really should think this through. And they were like, no, it's like whatever, but we'll talk about it later. And then when they met up and talked, I was like, okay, maybe it's me. Like maybe I'm safe. Like when she called a timeout to like talk with Victoria, I was like, maybe. And then she didn't, and they used it on her. And I kind of knew at that point. My face wasn't on the camera, but as soon as they did it,
yeah.
As soon as they did
that was before they used Zoom, so it was all teams. So you only 4 faces at a time. So I'm like trying to find your face the whole time, and the only time we see you after that vote is when you're getting your torch snuff. So that was a huge moment.
But I kind of remember as soon as like we started it and I heard my name, I kind of like smiled and spun around like I'm in like a Maroli chair because I was like, it's done. Like I'm out. Like it was pretty cut and dry at that point. And you can kind of even see on like everyone's face where they're like, frick. Like Victoria and I think Ethan were on there and they were both like, and I was like, it's fine.
So you're out. You haven't been blindsided. Your allies have been blindsided, but it's kind of funny that the person playing with the least amount of survivor knowledge actually figured it out before anybody else did. And I think that's really fascinating in how the game works. So you're out. You are now on the jury. Looking back at it now that you have a little bit more knowledge on how the game works and all these intricate things, is there anything you would really change about your gameplay, or do you think you were kind of ready and you played well? And I think you played well. And so like looking back on it now, is there anything that you would have seriously changed?
I might have spoken up a bit more because like a lot of times, I mean, I was the one who didn't really know what was going on, but like it's a really simple game. And a lot of times I'd be like, that's not super smart. Like we shouldn't do that. But like I wouldn't say anything because I was like, oh, they know what they're doing. But like, now that I'm looking on it, like they all came in kind of like Delaney and Ethan. I don't think either one of them were big fans. Like they kind of came in blind too, but they just didn't advertise it and they figured it out and they acted like they knew what they were doing. And I never did that. I acted like I didn't know, which was my strategy. But like looking back, I would have maybe spoken up a bit more, especially that last time, and been like, let me explain this a bit more instead of being like, hey, like I think I'm going home. It makes more sense. I would have been like, hey, like let's actually talk about this because
Right.
I feel like a lot of times, like and like even with Andrew, I think Andrew had to leave, but I really wish I hadn't voted him out. Like I think like getting rid of Chad at that point, um, Andrew still he could have voted the other way that last vote, and like he could have like maybe Delaney would have gone home instead of CK. But like in my head, I had Andrew, and we would have made it to the next one. Maybe a lot of info would have gotten leaked. I mean, who knows? But I would have been doing, yeah. I mean, like, but I mean, I would have during that time when everyone was like screaming and whispering to each other. I would have been doing more than trying to get in CK's circle and annoy him. I would have probably been talking to Andrew, but like little things like that where like I had a feeling something would work out and I didn't really trust it because I was like, everyone else knows what they're doing. Like if I could go back, I would have fought more on my feelings because I feel like a lot of them were pretty good, but
Yeah.
I was just the guy who didn't know anything, so I was like, whatever.
In your ex interview, you talked about the friendships that you're gonna continue on with and have, and some you're gonna keep. How many of those friendships, and who per se have you actually genuinely kept up with and have remained close friends with, since playing the game?
So me and Ethan were cool for like the rest of the year. We don't really talk much now, but he gave me like a little harmonica necklace like 2 years ago, like after COVID, like when we got back. So I think we're still kind of homies. We don't talk a lot, but whatever. Andrew, I think I text Andrew, not a lot, but we text here and there. We're still homies. Delaney and me might be in a wedding together soon. We're still friends. I don't actually, we might have been in one already. Yeah, we were already in one together because a lot of our friends still run together. And we still talk, we still hang out, just not nearly as much. But that's also because I'm a senior. I'll be a senior on campus and everyone else is kind of gone. But so Delaney, I'm definitely still close to Delaney. Chad, me and him text a lot. And who else is there? I mean, Victoria, we were in bio at one point. We were kind of cool, but we don't talk a ton anymore. A lot of the friendships I got were like very much that semester. But a few of them came on like a semester after, but for the most part, not really tight, which is that's just life. That's college life in general. I mean, every semester it's like new people come in. I'm getting tight with new people. But yeah, I mean, I'd say me and Delaney are probably the closest still. And I probably talk to Chad the most.
Well, Austin, I think you're one of the most fascinating players we've had on the season because like if anyone is not a fan of the game, that's you. And at that point, like all you wanted to do was make friends. And I think you accomplished that. I think you were a lot of people call you the golden retriever. So like you were kind of just around, you made friends, you were happy to be there. But then when it time came to protect your people, you did it. And up until the very end, you were kind of with your alliance and you were very loyal. So I would have loved to see you go farther. And I think things could have changed if COVID didn't happen. And we can't say what happens after your episode, but I think things would have gone a lot differently for you. And I think you would have had a real shot to make it to the end had COVID not happened. Or maybe stuff still happens the way it does, but as always, the biggest what if. But yeah, that's about it. Thank you so much, Austin, for coming on, and we will see everybody else watching for the rest of the season and see you guys next week. Thank you, Austin.
Yep.